Good morning, brave heroes, and welcome back to the channel. I am AmalgamAsh, and today I'm very excited to share with you AxianQuest. Specifically, AxianQuest Heroic Skills, AxianQuest Furniture, and AxianQuest Artifacts, of which there are 2 decks. These were very kindly provided to me by their creator, Giuseppe Rotondo. So thank you very much, Giuseppe. I am going to give you a general overview of what these cards are. We'll take a look in depth at a lot of the cards, and then we'll actually see how we might use them in context. These are intended to be used for tabletop dungeon crawling board games, and I'm going to use these today with HeroQuest because the creator shared the information about these cards and linked to the drive-through RPG store page, which I will link in the description below, so please go check that out if you'd like to get these for yourself. And generally pictures and galleries of the cards and such on the Old Inn Facebook group where I found them. So very, very good addition to any HeroQuesters library, especially those who like to utilize a lot of homebrew. So first things first, we're going to take a look at the Heroic Skills deck. And I didn't want to spoil myself in the contents of these cards, so I tried not to look at too many, but I did slide just a couple out to see what I would be getting myself into. So far, I can tell you I'm really looking forward to this. We'll slide these out of their plastic sleeve, and then take a look at the deck of cards we get here. We get our order card, which this is kind of a drive-through RPG obligation. This is not really part of the deck itself, but these cards are the deck, as well as the last card, which is the instruction card. This is useful. So while I want to take a look at these right away and admire the lovely art on the back and the brand, which I really appreciate because this allows you to pull in homebrew of your choice, try it out, put it away, sort everything, categorize. It's really, really nice to have this branded on the back like this. I like that. You can say I've got all my AxianQuest cards together. Well, I would love to dig into that. Let's look at the instruction card first. I know, boring, but it's important to know exactly how a homebrewer might be able to use these cards, and if applicable, change them to your liking. So, AxianQuest Heroic Skills, designed by Giuseppe Rotondo, Axian Spice. Layout by Luca Basile. The card back's art was by Dean Spencer, so really good job, Dean, on those. Now, how to use these cards. This deck includes 36 heroic skills. This is the Heroic Skills deck. I think there's 4 different decks right now at the time of this video. You should be able to get all 4. They should all 4 be available in the drive-through RPG page linked below. The following rules apply. We have a lot of different terms here that can be, I would think, switched on or off for the purpose of making your homebrew game more yours, but we'll see what these mean. Skills for all means any hero can learn these skills. 1 between quests means a hero can learn 1 skill after a quest. Increasing costs means learning your first skill costs 500 coins, learning your second costs 1,000, and learning your third costs 1,500. Up to 3 means a hero can learn up to 3 skills. 2 per category means skills are divided into 3 categories: adventuring, battle, and lore, and you'll see they're color-coded green, red, and blue, as noted on each card. A hero can learn no more than 2 skills from the same category. And requisites. In order to learn a skill, the hero must possess the liquid requisites. The listed requisites. No duplicates. A hero can only learn each skill once and cannot learn a skill that is equivalent to a skill or ability they already possess from other sources. Change your mind. You can unlearn any of your current skills for free, but will have to pay to learn new ones. And skills die. If the hero dies, their skills are lost. Now, abbreviations used in the cards. Zorgan refers to the player controlling the monsters. I love that. I love the removal of any potential IP. It allows you to be able to distribute these without worry, freely, and make them accessible so players can enjoy them ad infinitum. Unlike some other creators I know. 1d6, 2d6, etc. This refers to the dice. MV is movement, DD is defense dice, AD is attack dice, BP is body points, MP is mind or mental points, and then you've got your plus and minus signs. So, moving on to the contents of the deck. This is going to be a lot of fun. These are the AxianQuest Heroic Skills, and here are our 36 cards. Enough looking at the back, let's flip them over. You can immediately see that we do indeed have a green category, a blue category, and a red category. And we have a very clean layout on the cards, so really good job and props to the designer. We have symbols immediately visible. We have the name of the skill, and then we have a lot of space for any information that we need to know about the skill. So for anybody wondering at this point, These cards are actually the exact same size as your HeroQuest 2021 cards, so it'll mesh perfectly with the game of 2021. They are slightly thicker than your classic US HeroQuest cards, although they are the same height, and I think that they would still mesh very well with a game of Classic. They are obviously, of course, bigger than your European editions of HeroQuest's cards. So just for that tidbit of information. Now, the first card, Kill Shot. This is a battle skill, and actually I would like to look at the battle skills before I look at the other kinds. If you forfeit movement, you may attack a non-adjacent opponent with +1 AD. You must use a ranged or thrown weapon. Interesting. That's cool. I like that. Requisites 3 or more MP. So I did look at these a bit to see if I could figure out if the requisites were pretty consistent. And what I have discovered, and I'll give some evidence as to my thinking later here, is that the requisites don't mean 3 or more current MP or BP. The requisites are referring to your overall, your maximum. I wish that that were on the card because it makes it seem like there's an error. We'll go look at that here very shortly. The next one is Team Fighters. You roll +1 defense dice when you are adjacent to another hero with this same skill. You roll +1 attack dice when you attack an opponent who is adjacent to another hero with this same skill. And the requisites are 5 or more BP. Undead Hunter, you roll +1 AD when you attack undead monsters. Requisites 5 or more BP. Steady Aim, you may ignore figures when determining line of sight to your target for ranged attacks. Requisites 3 or more MP. Retaliation, I love this one. When an adjacent opponent damages you, you may immediately attack them. You cannot use a ranged weapon or thrown weapon. Requisites 5 or more BP. This is counterattack, and I love the idea of counterattack. Second Wind. Once per game, you may at any time recover 2 lost BP and MP. And this is the one that makes me think that this definitely means maximum, because your requisites are 6 or more BP. Well, in a game of, say, HeroQuest, you would never use this card at 6 BP. It would just bring you from 6 to 8, otherwise it would be a waste, and the only hero who would really be able to benefit from it is the Barbarian, and that's if they can get up to 8. So I don't think that this means current BP. Also, this next one, Raging, you roll +1 attack dice if your current BP is half or less than your maximum BP. Requisites 7 or more BP, and this is, I think, is the proof that I'm right. This would seem to imply, because it would otherwise contradict this text, that you would have a maximum of, say, 14 body points or more, and the requisites here are 7 or more BP. I really think that this is implied to be used with your Barbarian character. If so, that's very clever. It's a good way of doing it, and this would mean maximum BP. I hope that there could be somewhat of a change to that. Tough as Nails, you'll roll +1 defense dice if your current BP is half or less than your maximum BP. Mighty Blow, if you forfeit movement, you may attack an adjacent opponent with +1 AD. Threatening Shout, you may at any time, once per game, shout, cause all monsters to roll 1 less AD until your next turn. This doesn't count as an action. So some of these cards are subject to a little bit of interpretation, which is pretty in line with any kind of product that you're going to use with HeroQuest, I think, because a little bit of ambiguity makes the game yours. I've said that often. This might beg the question, all monsters? All monsters visible, line of sight? All monsters on the board, even the ones who haven't been placed yet? I think the creator might have an answer to that, but rather than want to know the answer, I would really encourage people to use this as they deem appropriate. The Zargon, or the Zorgan in this case, should be able to decide easily what that means. But I hope that it means all. Well, I guess I don't actually hope that it means all monsters, because when you begin your quest, you would just use this immediately. And then the entire rest of the mission, the entire rest of your quest, they'd all roll 1 less defense die. So we're already able to kind of break the system. You've got an automatic buff that lasts the entire rest of the quest, and why wouldn't you use it? So I think maybe it means line of, or all of the monsters who are on the board placed, not necessarily line of sight, more line of hearing, so to speak, which is more of a radius. And we have a couple of others, and I'm comfortable showing these all on the camera because the full gallery of all the cards is available on the Old In Facebook page. So I think it's quite all right to show these off. I want to look at the adventuring skills now. All of your mercenaries roll +1 DD, requisites none for inspiring presence. I like that. That's pretty cool. Dodge. When defending from attacks, if you roll at least 2 white shields, you defend against all the damage caused by your opponent. You cannot benefit from this skill if you roll more than 3 dice to defend. That's interesting. So it's taking into account your chances. It's like if you have a high chance of rolling to block anyway, you can't benefit from this. Veteran, your maximum BP is increased by 1. Stealthy, if no monster sees you at the beginning of your turn, you roll +1 AD for the current turn. So these are very much like, I would make these purchasable skills, or I would award them to the heroes, perhaps based on feats that they accomplish. That's really cool, I like that. Lone Wolf, you roll +1 AD and 1 DD if there are no other heroes in the room or corridor. Allies, mercenaries, and similar creatures do not count. Interesting. Scouting, once per turn, when you are adjacent to a closed door, you may roll a die. Skull, the door remains closed but the room is revealed. White shield, nothing happens. Black shield, the door opens and your turn ends immediately. Really like that one. This, I wonder if it would count as an action, because the one card said that it didn't count as an action. I have to imagine all the rest of these do count as actions unless they say otherwise. Agility, you may move, perform an attack or spell action, and then use any movement left after your action. You also jump pits and similar hazards on any die, except a black shield. Danger Sense, when a trap directly affects you, you may roll a die. If the result is 4 or more, you negate the direct effects of the trap on you. If the trap persists in the square you are on, you immediately move to another adjacent square, so you can jump away from pits after you step on them. Sidekick, you may at the beginning of every quest select one mercenary to accompany you for free for the current quest. I like it a lot. Strider adds 3 squares to your movement. Treasure Hunter allows you to draw 2 cards and choose one, so this is whoever has this skill, that's the hero that you want to be searching all of the rooms for treasure, because they can put aside the wandering monster or trap cards if they can. Trap Mastery, you may re-roll the die when you attempt to disarm a trap. The requisites are the ability to disarm traps or a toolkit. Now for the lore skills. These are going to be more magic based, but there are some things in here that are really useful for whoever you deem worthy to learn them. Elemental Ward, you reduce by 1 BP the damage you receive by spells and effects based on fire, cold, or electricity. Mind's Eye, you may ignore figures when determining line of sight to the target of your spells and of the Arcane Blast skill if you have it. By the way, Arcane Blast, you may attack with 1 AD an opponent you can see. The opponent cannot roll to defend. Counterspell, at any time you may discard an unused spell card to negate and completely cancel an opponent's spell. Transmutation, once per game you may at any time discard an unused spell card and take back a used or discarded spell card. Earth Mastery, you can take back a discarded Earth spell card. There's Air, Water, and Fire Mastery cards as well. Concentration, once per game you may forfeit your turn to take back a used spell card. That is a very, very, very high value card there. Continuing to take back, say, the Genie spell. That would be quite something. Herbalist is one, and it has really good timing since we've got crafting in the newest HeroQuest expansion. Once per game you may, as your action, heal yourself or an adjacent hero for 3 BP. Wisdom, your maximum MP is increased by 1. These are pretty useful. So we won't need to demonstrate any of these. It's just battle skills, really. Things that will help you out actually in navigating a dungeon or combating monsters. Really, really cool. Now, my favorite of these decks is the furniture deck, so I'm going to move on to the artifact decks, and we'll take a look at these really quick. We actually won't look at all of the cards, but we will take the order card, toss it aside. We have a lovely purple color for the back of this deck. I really like it. We actually have 2 cards at the end here. We've got the instruction card. There are 20 magic items compatible with the classic Dungeon Crawl board game, plus the Astral Hunter card and this reference card. Limitations that apply to these items: once per affix. A hero can only wear, carry, and benefit from 1 item with a given affix. Duplicates have no effect. So if the artifact says Murderous, or of the Colossus, or Holy, or of Luck, etc., you can't wear another one and get double the benefit. They won't stack, is what they're saying here. 1 per type. A hero can only wear, carry, and benefit from 1 weapon, 1 shield, 1 pair of boots, 1 amulet, 1 ring, etc. Duplicates have no effect. So what they're saying here is, if you've got a helmet, you got 2 helmets, you got to select one. You can't benefit from both effects. You can't wear the helmets stacked on top of each other. If you have a ring, well, your hero only has 1 finger that can wear a ring. All of the rest of them are too swollen and bruised from combat and wielding magic staffs and the like to do anything with rings. So that's always been my headcanon for why anybody would only be able to wear 1 ring in any game. Mind points. If a hero reaches 0 MP, they roll 1 die to move, 1 die to attack, and 2 dice to defend. And on the opposite side of the card, Arcane Emporium of the Axian Witch. After each quest, the heroes may visit the Axian Witch's Emporium. So here's our merchant. Zorgan shuffles the deck and draws 1d6 cards. These are the items she has for sale at this time. The heroes can examine and buy the items drawn. Thanks to the hero's reputation, each item can be bought for 1,000 coins. What a deal! If more than one hero wants to buy a given item, they can either roll a dice or duel for it. Use the central room as the arena. The hero who loses all his BP is defeated but not dead, and recovers fully before the next quest. The witch also buys artifacts from the heroes, paying 500 coins per item. We have our abbreviations key again, which we won't need. Let's take a look at the Curse of the Astral Hunter. The Axian artifacts are truly powerful items, and their energy reverberates through the very fabric of reality, often attracting the attention of powerful extra-dimensional beings that feed on raw magic energy. If the heroes own 2 or more artifacts, once every quest, Zargon must roll 2d6 the first time a hero's blood is spilled, such as when they lose 1 or more BP. If the result is equal to or lower than the total number of AxianQuest artifacts owned by the heroes, an Astral Hunter appears next to the hero with more artifacts and attacks immediately like a wandering monster. And it's not just any wandering monster, the Astral Hunter has its own form. It has a movement of 8, an attack of 4, defense of 4, body and mind points of 4. It's a devourer of magic. The Astral Hunter's attacks do not inflict BP. Each undefended skull destroys 1 artifact carried by the hero. If the heroes have no artifacts left, it disappears. And of course, you can use a gargoyle, dreadful sorcerer, or other horrific miniature of your choice to represent the Astral Hunter. This is horrifying. I would say you could forgo this card if you wanted to let your heroes stack items, but if you wanted your game to be a bit more brutal, you would include this for sure. It plays out a bit like Betrayal, in that the more magic items you get, the more dangerous your rolls to keep and use those items become. So, we'll take a look at the artifacts deck. We've got the Murderous Sword, and this is our affix. This is our type of item. A blade enchanted with the ruthlessness of death. You can attack with 3 AD, so it's already a pretty good weapon. It can't be used by wizards. Each skull the opponent fails to defend inflicts 2 BP instead of 1. That is something. It would really suck to get that and then lose it to the Astral Hunter. Sword of the Flame. So of the Flame is our affix, and sword is our type of item. Eldritch Fire. Forged its steel and became part of its essence. You can attack with 3 AD. Once per game, you may at any time call a fire burst that attacks with 5 AD. An opponent you can see. It can't be used by wizards. Now we've got Staff of the Geomancer, which can only be used by wizards. The heart of a mountain pulsates inside this petrified wood. Attack with 1 AD and you may attack diagonally once per game. As an action, you may cause the floor to collapse. Place a pit token on a square you can see. If a creature is on the chosen square, it falls into the pit and suffers 1 point of damage. You may at any time remove the pit caused by the staff. Interesting. The Charged Staff. The nexus of 1,000 ley lines. This staff is constantly vibrating with compressed energy. You can attack with 2 AD and attack diagonally. And if you roll a black shield, you lose 1 BP and your opponent loses 3 BP. Neither can make a defense roll. So far, I'm not seeing any wizard ones that I love. Maybe the Staff of Wizardry will change my mind. This is a staff that channels and amplifies all winds of magic. You can attack with 1 AD and diagonally. Every time you cast a spell, on a 5 or 6, you may keep the spell card. This is the one that I would go after for the wizard. This one's fun, the Staff of Bones. At any time, you gain permanent control of 1 skeleton you can see, which you can use before or after your turn. It can move, attack, and open doors. You can only have 1 skeleton under your control, and the effect only lasts for the remainder of the current quest. If you die, you become a zombie controlled by Zorgan, and all the equipment and coins you were carrying disappear, except this staff. Horrifying. I love it. Next, we've got some weapons that could be used by characters other than the wizard or barbarian. We have the Singing Blade. The sword's blade hums magic. You can attack and cast in the same action if your hero can cast spells, but this can't be used by wizards. Green monsters such as orcs and goblins cannot roll to defend against the flanged mace of the Wild Hunt. This crushes. This is very OP. You take a weapon like this into Keller's Keep and you might be able to solo the damn thing. The Holy Morning Star. This is the same thing, but for undead. A hero with this, and then the other hero with the flanged mace of the Wild Hunt are going to crush a quest. The Soul Eater Dagger. The Crystal Blade Dagger. Sword of the Hurricane. This is 4 attack dice, and you can attack diagonally. Very powerful. May not be used with a shield or by wizards. Once per game, you can decide that your attack roll applies to all adjacent opponents and heroes and allies, diagonal included, who must roll to defend. Kind of like a death blow, but berserk sort of situation. The demon crossbow, I'm going to take a look at that because I love the ranged weapons. Attack with 380 a non-adjacent opponent, you can see. May attack 2 times per attack action. If you roll all black shields, the crossbow breaks. Hate that. I would love to have this item. I hate that risk, but wow. 1 in 36 chance, I think, of that happening. A bow of the wild hunt. Attack with 380. Green monsters cannot roll to defend. This is incredibly powerful. Take this and the flanged mason to a quest in Keller's Keep. You may be able to solo the whole thing. And I think I might try it. I think that might be my HeroQuest challenge for myself. The Great Axe of Frenzy. If you slay your opponent, you're allowed to move up to 4 squares and attack another opponent as part of your attack action. I wonder if that stacks. It can't be used with a shield or by wizards. I wonder if that stacks. If you kill the next one, can you move another 4 spaces and attack the next guy? Interesting. Really, really interesting. We kind of go on with similar items. The Soul Eater Sword. If you slay your opponent, you can heal 1 BP or MP. Your choice. If you roll all skulls, rather, and slay your opponent. But then, of course, Zorgan will be able to control your body if you die. I wonder if the UK version, his name is Markor. For no reason whatsoever. All right, this has turned out to be a pretty in-depth look. We've spent a lot of time on these already. We have a second artifacts deck to go through. We don't need that. The second AxianQuest artifacts deck also comes with the Curse of the Astral Hunter. Boo. And the same instructions. And we could take a look at, these are more like artifacts than the weapon. So I personally, I understand why the other deck is called artifacts, because there are artifacts in like HeroQuest where you have ones that are weapons technically and armor technically, but they're still under the artifacts because of their magical prowess, their properties. You're not able to buy them from the merchant, so it does make sense, but it would have been cool to have had some differentiation on maybe like the symbol on the back, or have one be called magical items or something like that. But I understand, and I actually think it's fine to shuffle all of these together if you get both decks and have them be available to purchase by the witch. Actually, I don't see that card included here. Oh yeah, I do. It's on the back of the instructions. Here she is, the Axian Witch. To get these, you can shuffle all these cards together. Really, really cool. The Enchanted Mirror. At any time, you may magically displace yourself or another hero or monster you can see to a square you can see. The chosen creature is teleported to the location. If it's occupied by another monster or hero, to swap places. 1 use per game. The Tiara of the Mentalist. You can spend any amount of MP to prevent the loss of an equal amount of BP or vice versa. The Tiara of the Geomancer. Once per game, you cause the ceiling to collapse, place a falling block token on a square you can see. That square becomes impassable. 3 combat dice against any monster, which cannot defend if it's underneath. If it survives, it's hurled to the closest free square. You can cancel and remove the block token caused by the Tiara. That's very, very good, because I was worried you would be able to permanently lock your heroes out from being able to complete the quest. It's really cool. Ring of the Spirits allows you to gain 1 MP. And we go on like that with these various items that strengthen your party. A ring that feels soft and cool. That's the Sapphire Ring of Wizardry. Every time you cast a water spell, roll a die, and on a 4, 5, or 6, you can keep the spell card. The Ruby Rings. The Ring of the Eternal Guardian. At any time, you gain permanent control of 1 mummy you can see. The Ring of Warping. When you lose your last BP, roll a die. If the result is 4 or more, you immediately remove 1 square and your BP is restored to 1. It does not say that you can only use it once per quest, so that's a really cool artifact to have. Ring of the Exalted, a precious talisman of silver and gold. You gain 1 BP and 1 MP. Horn of Blasting. At any time below the horn, Zorgan's monsters miss their next turn. Undead monsters are unaffected. Brooch of the Dragon Watch. Reduce by 1 the BP lost from spells, attacks, and effects based on fire, cold, electricity, or acid. And let's just go on to Amulet of the Dead Eye. At any time, you gain permanent control of 1 zombie. Right, that's pretty easy. Essence of the Leviathan. That permanently increases your BP by 1, discard after use. So these are all of our buffing magical items. I love those. We're going to move on to the last one here and check out the furniture deck. We have our rule card, our order card, and I like them. You know, I like the color. The color makes perfect sense, this nice brown. We've got a mimic on the front, very clearly a treasure chest that wants to eat you. I'm wondering how these are going to play out, because The backs of them just say furniture, but there are so many different kinds of furniture in the game. So how do we use these cards? They are designed to be compatible with the classic dungeon crawl game, both old version and the new. Whenever the quest you are playing doesn't state a specific content or function for a given piece of furniture, a hero standing next to a piece of furniture may use an action to search it specifically instead of the room. Unless the card says otherwise, each piece can only be searched once. And if you use these cards, each room can only be searched once. And so, what do we have? We have Magic Circle, Skeletal Remains, Iron Maiden, Bed, Statue, Mushrooms. All of these are items that you would find on the furniture. Fountain, pool, or well. Some of this stuff, it's hard to kind of imagine how this would work. Like if you search a tomb, I can see how that would become a well. You open up the lid and it's actually a well. Kind of weird, kind of creepy, but I like it. But a bookshelf, you're not going to find a well or a fountain or a pool and a bookshelf. So that's a bit odd to me. Perhaps you find it next to the bookshelf. A torture rack. This is actually a piece of furniture in the game. So are we finding the torture rack on the table? Are we finding it on a treasure chest or in the throne? I guess those are pretty good places to put torture rack. You could put one on a throne. You could have a person sit and torture them. Sounds kind of kinky, but it works for the game. Tomb is the sorcerer's table, a tomb. So those are things I'm not quite sure about, but let's look at some of these and read the examples anyway. So torture rack, roll 2 dice. If you roll a 2 or 4, the noise you make attracts 2 wandering monsters who attack you immediately and your turn is over. 5 to 6, the noise you make attracts a wandering monster who attacks you immediately. 7, you find nothing useful. 8, you find a staff. 9, you find a dagger. 10, you find a hand axe. 11, you find a ring worth 50 coins. 12, you find a toolkit. Those are a bit, to me, disproportionate to their number, but that's fine because it's all about odds. Tomb. Roll 2 dice. A ghost appears and curses you. A mummy can emerge and attack you immediately, or a zombie, or a skeleton. Or foul gas emanates from the tomb and all heroes in the room lose 1 BP. You could also find a shield, a longsword, a necklace worth 100 coins, chainmail armor, or 1 card from the AxianQuest artifacts deck. That's pretty cool. So I'm kind of wondering, maybe it's not such that, you find these things, but rather when somebody searches the furniture, you take this deck, you look for the thing that they've searched, such as table, and then you have them follow the instructions on the card. I kind of like that better for this deck, and I kind of wondered if that was going to be how this deck was used. To me, I think that's how I would use it for my games. Roll 2 dice. A goblin can leap out from under the table. You can only find a rotten apple. You could find an abandoned meal, and then you roll another die to see if it was poisoned, tasty, or delicious. You find 1d6 coins scattered under the table. You find a dagger, or you could find a map revealing the contents of a nearby room in the dungeon. So very interesting how that could play out. Let's look at one more. Bed. An evil spell lures you in under the sheets and you fall asleep. That results in an additional roll. Or a goblin could come out from under the bed. Of course, it's always a goblin. 7, it's just a bed. You could find a dagger. You could find a map revealing a room. You could magically heal all lost MP and BP. You could find equipment under the bed, or you could find an AxianQuest artifact under the bed. Now I know I said one more, but let's do one of the non-standard furniture real quick. Mushrooms. You can search the mushroom, roll 2 dice, and I don't know where you might find mushrooms. Your evil wizard player may be able to sort that out for you, or you might end up drawing from a deck anyway, randomly. 2 mushroom-infected zombies could emerge from the ground and attack you immediately. That's horrifying, I love it. The spores could catch fire, toxic spores, or nothing bad happens. You may taste if you dare. If you taste the mushrooms, roll 2 dice, and we extend this event, which I love. I love the extension of events. Insanity. Debilitating, hallucinations, toxic, or no effect, invigorating, healing, or magic mushrooms. Recover 1d6 used spell cards, if any. Love all that. So there you go. That is the AxianQuest deck. I suppose it would be prudent if I took my barbarian, walked up to the orc, and at this point used 3 attack dice to attack with the flanged mace. The orc cannot defend, and there's 3 attack dice. This would be enough to kill 90% of monsters in the game. The orc dies a horrible, horrifying death. The elf will now go to the Famir and roll 2 attack. And I'm going to give the elf the Great Axe Frenzy. You can attack with 4 AD here. So he's going to attack the Famir, and it is actually 3 skulls and a white shield. and the Famir rolls 3 dice for defense. So he actually blocks one of those, but dies. Why? Because I say so. And the skeleton just collapses into bones because he's horrified from what's going on over here. Let's have the wizard search the bookshelf. And to do that, we'll actually draw the specific bookshelf card if we can grab it real quick. We've got fireplace, we've got cupboard, tomb, bookcase. Here it is. Roll 2 dice. I've got a 3 and a 5. That equals 8. You find a pouch with 2d6 coins. My wizard just found, how about that? He found 3 coins. Love that. Somebody stuffed a pouch with 3 coins in the bookshelf. That's all for that. The elf will search the table, and instead of using the system where I'm looking for the cards, I went ahead and separated all of the non-specific to HeroQuest cards, or non-relevant, I should say, and give him a little bit of a shuffle. Draw 1. A barrel or crate. Basically, I don't care that this is not a barrel or crate. I'm just going to say that I'm searching the table and that this is a table card for this purpose. But roll 2 dice, and I've rolled a 9. And that means I found delicious cider. So instead of a barrel of cider, I'm going to say I found a mug of cider on the table. Each hero may drink as many times as they want. If you decide to drink, roll a die. Barbarians and dwarves, add +1 to the roll. The elf is going to drink, and that's a 5. And that means he's recovered a lost BP. The wizard is going to roll to drink, and he's rolled a 2, and that actually means that the wizard has lost an MP. Fitting, I would say. So that's AxianQuest. I want to thank Giuseppe Rotondo again for providing me with these lovely cards. I'm very pleased with them. I think they would go great with the game of HeroQuest. I think that they would go great as well with the game of Dragon Strike. Should you be so inclined, you may even be able to find a way to shoehorn these to fit other dungeon crawlers as well. But we are out of time. Thanks again for watching. Comment anything you like down below. Make sure you check out the link and support this creator, and I will see you in the next adventure. Goodbye, heroes.